Let's imagine we have all this work done by historians, and we have this data from scientific research. Let's assume that we have no problem with money, we can have accurate, and we have enough um, um, uh, um, uh, what's called, sorry, I forgot the name again, storage, okay? We have enough storage, we don't have any problem. And actually, we're talking about not only tetra, we've got penta, esa, and you have, and it will very possible very soon we'll have no problem about storage theoretically, because if 40 years ago 1 mega was big deal, and now we are talking about esa, tetra, whatever. Obviously, that in a few months we'll be able to create a larger storage. That will not be the problem. My question is, what will be the relationship between science data and the historical data that we have? Will help each other or overlap? And I conclude with my question with the following. Just imagination, which can be also not necessarily imagination in soon. Maybe we can go back in history, okay? And we find a lot of material from archival sources. We work on them and so forth. How will be obsolete, or will be still something that can give something to our knowledge about human history and human future or whatever?
Let's leave that part of the question out, because that's very speculative. But the previous part of it.
Yeah, I mean, okay. I mean, but basically it's the same, because it's how I using the data that the historical data that I have, and whether the two can work together and how.
That's the question. So,
And even you want more is why the very good article, exceptional article, very beautifully written, why it does not refer, since we talk about time, we have material from 100 and eventually from billion, 100, whatever, million years. So what about what we know orally and what we know in writing? How these two issues will combine?
I would think, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if somebody is already doing something like that. That I would think it's a kind of a digital humanities project. Like, the problem would be that those kinds of things that are in annals or, I don't know, stories or whatever, like that's very, like, is qualitative data that a person has to analyze and to see how to use that because it's not all comparable. But on the other hand, if these things are digitized and they can pick out keywords or something like that, and then I can imagine that kind of a project, but then maybe still have to finesse it a lot of how do you compare this and that, or you have to set it. But I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if there's people working on
I'm
something
sure,
like
but
that.
I mean, unfortunately, that article does not mention at all that source, and I was a little bit disturbed because he's talking about history, and he's talking about how history will be affected, and so
But there's also the fact that like people's memories are terrible, right? Like this was the coldest winter ever because the previous year was kind of warm, right? So there's the fact that a lot of that data is trapped in subjective feelings in your relatively short lifespan and in your even shorter memory, and like the subjective memory. So I think like sorting it out and pulling it out in a way that's normalized and useful is like I thought very difficult and a little bit.
Like maybe if you had some major event and you
Right,
had a whole lot
like
of
you
different
can map
stories
onto
about
something
it.
else. Yeah, exactly. But I think that sort of the article that they have, they're just talking about like data that they can normalize and track and sort of understand in a way that they find reliable. as opposed to, and I think that that data is actually extraordinarily useful, but I think that it's useful in different ways, like Violet said. I think there probably are people trying to find a way to pull it out in a way that's meaningful and analyzable. But I think that that's what we can do.
Violet, I think your point about it being digital humanities a project is really a good way to think about this, because you're studying, Liz, and you brought that up before, that people have bad memories, they also are deaf descriptors.
Right.
What is cold, and how would you decide how somebody without what they're mean by that? And I think that the digital humanities idea that it's definitely a very good amount of data to study, but you're studying perspective and experience more than you're necessarily studying weather. So I think it's a really good collection to deal with, but I think you come up with different kinds of, you could answer different questions with it than you could
Yeah.
with more modern things.
What you're talking about is history as sort of narrative. What other kinds of context? History, the way Jay was presented it, is a narrative kind of thing, right? But there are other elements too. You can use in your society narrative, right? The things are more than just stories. You know, the poets or whatever. There's also how much ice was there on the Hudson River today?
But wouldn't that fall into this like proxy climate data that they're aggregating, like geologic phenomenon that they use to project backwards?
Tree rings,
Yeah.
ice cores, stuff like that. Yeah, so there's that, but even that